Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again. I hope you enjoyed the last video and thanks for coming back. This is your first one, welcome. So this is a channel where I'm going to be breaking down practice of meditation and giving you tips, and most importantly, regardless of where you're at in your meditation practice, that you can meditate with me. So today we're going to be going over a lot about practicing with anxiety. So as I mentioned in my last video, a lot of the times what I hear people saying when they say that they have difficulty meditating, or that they've tried and it's just too difficult for them, and really it sounds like that they're sort of too scared to even go about it, is this issue of anxiety. And last video I spoke a lot about two things: the posture of meditation and also what to do with our mind as we're meditating. So today we're going to talk about definitely what do we do with our thoughts during the meditation, because that's oftentimes when people have a lot of issues with, what do I do with my emotions, or the emotions feel too overwhelming. And also, though, we're going to talk a little bit about what do we do with our emotions when we're not meditating, or what can we do with our thoughts about meditation before we even get to sitting down in our cushion or in our chair so we can do our practice for the day, or however often we're deciding to practice. So I'd like to start there, because I think in a way this has to do a lot not only with meditation but with life. It's how are we approaching our challenge, something that we're afraid of. And oftentimes our thinking really determines everything. And in a way, actually, the practice of meditation is designed so that we can examine our thinking in a much deeper level than we might normally. Now, I will say that oftentimes this analysis or any kind of realizations, they come very slowly. We kind of have to swim through a lot of our own BS and habits and stuff like that. But kind of I'm gonna give you guys maybe a kind of a quicker tip so that we can kind of cut through a lot of this bullshit and get to something that's helpful to not only meditation but again life in general. And that's really what is the energy, what is the feeling behind our thoughts. If we think of something and instantly we're like, oh my god, it's gonna be terrible, it's not gonna work out, I can't do it, just right there we have all of these sort of judgments and these really heavy kind of like these truths about the future or about what is. And it's like, if we can just stop and say, like, well, is that true? And if we think it's true, maybe we do. It's like, well, how do we know? And how can we be so sure? And I guess what I'm trying to invite you to do is I'm just inviting you to not be so sure. Maybe what we thought was the truth about ourselves, and in this case, I'm talking specifically about anxiety, and that we might be too anxious. Maybe it's maybe there's something else, or maybe there's another way, or maybe there's less than we thought. I'm not saying that your thoughts about yourself are like wrong or completely off base. Usually there is some kind of rationale or logic. But I'm just inviting you, me, everyone, can we just have an open mind? Can we have what we call in Zen a don't know mind? Where instead of always having an answer, maybe we can just say, I don't know. Even if we've done something a dozen times, can we come to it with some kind of freshness, some kind of curiosity, and really, the way I see it, some kind of generosity. I'm going to give my habitual thinking, I'm going to give it up. and even in a way, you don't have to give it up forever. Just just for these 2 minutes that we'll meditate, or just for that opportunity that maybe you might ask someone out on a date if you're scared. It's like, oh, that's never gonna work. It's like, well, just try it. And even if it doesn't work, it's like, is it gonna kill you? Is it gonna be the worst thing ever? Maybe, maybe not. Let's give it a shot. Let's be open to our experience. And all that said, I don't want to sound like I'm discounting people who do have clinical anxiety problems, or even if it's not clinical, something that you just, you really do have this issue. I'll be very honest, I actually have problems with anxiety and depression myself, so I've been there, I am there. But I think that, one of the things that I've found helpful is having this gentler approach. And instead of always knowing, maybe we can not know. Maybe just this once, maybe just today. And try it out, see what you think. And the second thing now, is we're coming more into the actual practice, is because everything I was talking about before, oftentimes that kind of sabotages us even before we can get to sit down and meditate, or get to even try that goal. We have this aspiration, but it's like, no, because I'm sure it won't work, or I'm pretty sure it's not going to work out. We kind of screw ourselves up. We get in our own way. But hopefully you're watching this video, you're open-minded, you're gonna give it a shot, you're gonna be open to the possibilities, okay? And so as we get more into the practice, I wanted to give one more kind of practical tool, which is exercise, which is doing something physical. Sometimes when we're really jittery, it's because we have a lot of energy in our body, and maybe we're not doing any kind of physical exercise. So that's something you might want to try before you meditate. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could even just be a walk around the block. Just something to kind of get the blood moving a little bit, and maybe get some of that excess energy out there, or out of you. And then lastly, I think another just small but very practical tip is, consider what have you been consuming. And I mean that physically. Have you been eating, have you been drinking caffeine? Did you just have 4 cups of coffee and then you're trying to meditate and you feel overwhelmed? Or also, what kind of media, what kind of maybe TV shows or news have you just read? Or are you kind of constantly filling yourself up with this kind of stuff that, and maybe you didn't even notice, maybe you didn't notice, maybe it's having an effect on you. But that's something that is another, I think, really good tip, and sometimes very easily to overlook. Also, sometimes you might not help it. Maybe you work as a journalist, maybe you work in broadcasting, so you have to kind of surround yourself with these things. But if that's the case, what are the ways maybe you can soothe yourself or prepare yourself for your meditation session? So I'm trusting that we're calm enough based on those kind of 3 tips, that we're open-minded. We're calm enough that we feel that we can just sit down. And I think the last thing I'll say before we just start to practice is, how long are you thinking to meditate? What's your expectation of yourself? Because again, that goes back into our thinking. Are we expecting to sit for an hour completely motionless in total meditative absorption when we've never even tried once? It's like, guys, that's too much. It's like you don't pick up a violin or something and then expect to play Bach concertos perfectly. It's like, no, it's a process, it's a practice. And, it's going to be up to you eventually how much of a meditative strength that you have and endurance. But, that's, if we're starting out, and even if we've been practicing for a while, that's not the point. The point is not to attain this perfection. And unfortunately, based on our world, entertainment, a lot of the stereotypes about meditation. It's always about like nailing in it, just being perfect from the get-go. And anything less is not acceptable. So I'm telling you, it is acceptable, and that we have to build our path to a higher level of whatever we're practicing. We have to get there somehow. So don't be wary. Be aware. Are you thinking of this as at too extreme a level? So all that said, blah blah blah. We're gonna go ahead and practice now, and finding our seat. If you have questions about how do we sit down properly, you can go ahead and look at the last video, and there are a lot of tips of how we arrange our posture. So for right now, just say we're gonna firmly have our hips anchored, either sitting on the floor, elevating our butt with some cushions, or we can sit in a chair if we're comfortable, more comfortable that way. That's totally fine. Our spine is erect, but not stiff. We just relaxed, and as effortlessly as possible. We're just trying to find that balance and that equilibrium where our spine can just be straight up and down without holding it up, without being rigid. Our chin comes slightly down. Our tongue rests where our gums meet the top of our teeth, our top teeth, excuse me. And our arms are just coming straight down from the shoulder, and resting our hands on our thighs. A little bit probably closer to the knees. And we're gonna just start to breathe. Just breathing in through our nose. And breathing out. Breathing in again. And maybe our anxious thoughts have already started. Maybe they started even when we sat down. But just a reminder of what are we practicing? We're practicing that as we breathe, and if you're nailing it, or if you're feeling you're good in your practice, just keep breathing as I speak. But just as a reminder for all of us, when we get derailed, distracted, it's okay. That's the first thing. We don't want to create more anxiety. Say, I'm anxious, and then I'm supposed to be meditating, but I'm not even meditating because I'm so anxious, and this is terrible. And we kind of create this tornado of this chaos, So let's just leave it at the first thing. It's like, I'm so anxious. It's like, okay. So just breathe in. Allow that anxiety to be there. See if you can. Maybe it's the first time you ever heard that idea. Just let it be. Let yourself be anxious as you breathe. We're not fighting it, but we are listening. We're listening to our body. Do you feel that energy of anxiety? Do you feel it somewhere in your body? Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? Physically. It might be hard to put it in words. Does it feel tight? Does it feel hot? Whatever words might make sense. Just notice. So as we breathe, we're just allowing ourselves, we're giving space to that feeling. When we feel that thought, an anxious rush, we're doing our best. We're not going to attach ourselves to that thought and let it take us or go along with it. Doing your best. Just breathing in. Letting the anxiety be there, if it's still there. Breathing in. And breathing in. And again, in the practice of meditation, we're just bringing our thoughts back. We're bringing our focus back when our thoughts sort of run away from us. Breathing in, our focus is the breath. Breathing in, feeling the breath, feeling it fill the body. Breathing out. And inevitably, you might think, when's that project due? Or, oh, I haven't thought of that friend for a long time. I wonder what she's up to. So regardless if it's something specifically about anxiety or just kind of a random thought that's more neutral, it doesn't matter. We're going to treat them all the same. The only difference is that with anxiety, with sadness, with anger, with rage, we might feel more of a hit. There's more potency. So that's why we're just going to give it more space. When we have those kind of emotions, we're just going to allow them to sort of be there. We use our body to kind of process, see what we can feel in our physical body. But even then, we're not going to attach ourselves to those thoughts and get pulled along. We're not going to add our own feedback as best as we can. And again, it's okay. If you get pulled along, it's okay. If you're breathing and you think of something else, it's okay. That's the practice. That's exactly what we're doing. Breathing in and breathing out. And if you've been breathing this whole time, congratulations, that's amazing. If you've been kind of coming in and out of your breath, listening to my tips or, what the instruction, also great. And just for reference in the future, once we sort of start the meditation, you can just go ahead. Just go ahead and meditate. And I'm sort of saying a lot of things at the beginning because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot to tell you about. But in time, I'll actually say less and less during meditation. We'll meditate for about 2 to 5 minutes. So that's another thing. We're just gonna pick 2 to 5 minutes. And if it seems overwhelming, 1 to 2 minutes. Just 1 to 2 minutes. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna make it very easy. We're gonna set the bar very low. Because it's not about how long, it's about the practice. It's like coming back when we get distracted, coming back to the breathing. Just doing that over and over. And there's no shame and there's nothing wrong if we have to do that. That's what we're here for. So let's just go ahead and take 3 more breaths. one more. All right, guys. Well done. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.